4 players who started their seasons in the minor leagues had a major impact last night. Dyson cranks it into deep right center field. It is gone! And now Lucas May up the left field line. That is fair. Gordon scores easily. Bittencourt coming around third base, and the relay to the plate is late. Pounded to deep center field and gone. Way gone. And they had an impact on defense. Gerard Dyson saved 2 runs in the second. Josh Fields saved 2 more in the 7th. And Jay Miller saved the game in the 9th. Game 2 with Minnesota is next on Fox Sports Kansas City. It was the Twins who fell victim to good defense last night. It was the Twins who ended the game because of a mental mistake. With a win tonight, the Royals can clinch their first series against Minnesota this year. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Kauffman Stadium. I'm Ryan Lefebvre with Royals Hall of Famer Chris White. And the Twins have been so hard on the Royals for so long. It was nice to see the Royals beat the Twins at their own game and have some impact on the playoff picture.
Well, you're right, Ryan. And I tell you, when you look at the fact that they finished early and that danger of finishing early is losing that mental edge. And I think last night, that's the thing that they did. They lost that mental edge. And you want to be strong going down the stretch. And I think that's why Ron Gardenhire is on top of this thing. He wants to keep that edge going into the final series of the season.
And it was a missed opportunity for Minnesota. They could have tied Tampa Bay for the best record in the American League. As it stands, they're a half game back of the Yankees, a full game back of the Rays. They will clinch home field advantage with their next win. And here's what Ron Gardenhire had to say after the game last night.
Not a good ball game by our ball club. We didn't pitch worth a crap. We haven't pitched worth a crap on this whole trip. It's not acceptable. We have to get better. We have to do better. You can't lose the edge. And it starts with the pitching. And you give up 10, you give up 11, you give up 5, you give up 10. That's not good enough. Not good enough. So they better get the edge back. And we have to do better. Swinging the bat's all right. Come out, score runs. It won't make a difference if we don't pitch. I don't care who's out there. You have to pitch.
Well, we know where Gardy stands on that. The Twins have been an excellent team at home. They've been pretty regular on the road. They're about a 500 team right now away from Target Field. The 3 years prior to this season, they have been a losing team on the road. They'll face Sean O'Sullivan, who can breathe a sigh of relief because he has his first win with the Royals as a starting pitcher. That was his last start against the Indians. He'll try and make it 2 in a row against the Minnesota Twins tonight, and we'll talk about who he will face when we come back. To learn more, visit kia.com. by Kellogg's, the best to you each morning, and by the Missouri Lottery. Twins fans still at KCA.com, by Kellogg's, the best to you each morning, and by the Missouri Lottery. Twins fans still flock to Kansas City, even with their own outdoor ballpark. They will not see Joe Mauer, however, as we look at the Twins batting order presented by M&I Bank. Still out with a sore left knee. In fact, he got a cortisone shot, so he's not even the designated hitter. Orlando Hudson, the regular second baseman, will be the DH, and Jose Morales will fill his spot behind the plate. They will be facing Sean O'Sullivan for the second time this year. Here's the Kia report.
But Sean's last outing, Ronnie, started and stayed strong for the win last Thursday. Key tonight, I think, for Sean, cut down on the walks and get some early contact and get through the early innings.
It's good to see David DeJesus taking some swings after wrecking his thumb in New York earlier this year. He will not be on the field tonight, but he will be in the booth later in the game. We look forward to that. The first pitch is next. High Definition, brought to you by Time Warner Cable, where HD is free with digital cable. Another great early fall night in Kansas City, and we're ready to go. Sean O'Sullivan facing the Twins for the second time this year. He throws ball 1 to Denard Span. Span opened the game last night with a single to center field off of Kyle Davies, and that was the beginning of a 3-run inning. 2 balls and no strikes. Jason Kubel hit a 2-run double. Michael Kadire had an RBI double. The Twins had 3 doubles in the first inning, only to watch the Royals come back in the second and score 6. So Sean O'Sullivan getting his first win as a starter on Thursday at Cleveland with 6 very good innings. Gave up only 2 runs and began the game with 6 scoreless innings. Lined off of Josh Field's glove to Yuniesky Betancourt, not in time. It is an error on Josh Fields. Orlando Hudson now comes to the plate with a runner at first, and we go down to Joe Goldberg.
Ryan, thanks. Had a chance to talk to Lucas May about Sean O'Sullivan, and he said that in that last win at Cleveland, he felt like he was more focused throughout the whole game than what Lucas had seen in the past. Said he's always got good focus, but to be able to stay focused all game long really enabled him to be able to throw all of his pitches, not be affected by anything that was going on, have the leeway by throwing all those pitches. He said last time he caught him at Kauffman Stadium was great through 4 innings, then gave up the grand slam and maybe took a little wind out of his sails. He said that never happened in Cleveland for a guy that really tries to get after it, and he said he competes his butt off every single time on the mound. A Bulldog out there, as we've heard before, guys.
All right, thank you, Joel. In the game against Cleveland, I mentioned the 6 scoreless innings, and then he left in the 7th with 2 runners on base, and they came around to score. So those runs scored after O'Sullivan left the game. And as Denard Span reaches on the air, Sean O'Sullivan, it wasn't necessarily easy for him against Cleveland because in his 7 innings, the leadoff man was on 5 times, but only once did that turn into a run. Royals turned 2 double plays behind him.
I think as a pitcher, Ryan, you want to try to keep your defense under as much, just out of as much stress situation as possible. When you have runners on base every inning, they're always in double play situations. They always have to make the double play, make the big tough play to get you out of trouble. And the 4 walks hurt him too in that game, and not on the board, but it hurt in terms of the stress you put on your defense and always being out of position.
And O'Sullivan is normally a pitcher who doesn't walk many. However, his season high this year was against the Twins. Back on September the 6th, he gave up 5 walks. He was operating with a very tight strike zone in that game and allowed 5 runs in less than 5 innings. That was his only career appearance against Minnesota. And the Twins are a very patient team at the plate. They are 2nd in the American League in on-base percentage. Lays off the changeup. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Orlando Hudson, who, like Denard Span, was 1 for 4 with a walk and a run scored last night. He also drove in a run. To center field, but Dyson is there in a hurry. 1 away. This great weather continues. 65 degrees last night at first pitch. A little warmer tonight at 71 degrees. Game started on time at 7:10. And the time and temp is brought to you by the parking spot. Easy to spot, easy to park. The parking spot at KCI. So Span at first, and now Delman Young with 1 out, who just missed hitting a 2-run home run in the first inning last night. And he gets underneath this pitch. Again, Gerard Dyson is there, and he was busy last night. He tied a team record with 10 putouts in center field last night, and he has 2 tonight. Rest of the Royals defensively, Alex Gordon and Jay Miller in the outfield with Dyson. On the infield, it's Josh Fields, Unievsky Betancourt, Micah Vilas, and Kila Kaihue, and Lucas May behind the plate. Amos Otis first, Carlos Beltran second, and Gerard Dyson last night the third time the Royals outfielder has had 10 putouts in one game.
Well, you got a guy in center field that can run, Ryan, and that's when those putouts come. And Amos Otis covered a lot of ground. Carlos Beltran, and I was surprised Willie Wilson's name wasn't in that group of names because he covered a lot of ground in the outfield also.
Jason Kubel drove in 5 runs last night. He had been struggling in the month of September. Don't tell the Royals that, because he's driven in 18 against KC this year. So he hit his 21st home run. The 5 RBIs got him over 90. But before that, in his first 14 games in September, he was hitting 183. And O'Sullivan is ahead 1 ball, 2 strikes.
One thing he's been able to do is when he gets ahead in the count on the pitcher, that's when he settles in and looks for his pitch, and he really lets the bat go. And I think last night the ball was up a little bit, but it was 2-0, and he was looking for it, and he was able to get the bat hit there and got himself a home run.
Still 1 ball, 2 strikes. And you've been talking about that a lot lately, Frank, about, you don't necessarily have to always be going up to the plate looking to hit a home run, but there are certain counts where you might want to add a little extra.
Well, you really do, Ryan. I really think back on my career. If I would have, I could have probably easily hit 270, 280 as an average overall. And if I had to do it all over again, I might have paid more attention to the batting average. But I wanted to be a productive hitter first, and that means I want to be very aggressive on my first 2 swings, and then I'd go for the single on my second swing. So in the middle 80s, when the team needed offense and they moved me into the 3rd and 4th spots, then that's when I made the adjustment. I went from hitting 13 home runs to 17 to 22, 22, and then 17. So the average did suffer, but I gave the team what the team needed.
It was not your job in that spot in the batting order to have a high batting average.
Right.
Fouled away again. That's 4 straight. And the battle continues at 1 ball, 2 strikes.
The old saying, like Mickey Mouse said, if I'd known I was going to play this long, I'd have took better care of myself. Well, in my case, if I know that I had a chance to go to the Hall of Fame, I might have went for the average more so than the production. So it's just a double-edged sword. Basically, what we tried to do was we tried to do what the team needed. It wasn't one of those selfish things where a lot of guys hit 300, but they don't drive in a lot of runs.
Span takes off, no throw as the pitch is in the dirt. So Span swipes his 26th. And a runner at second with 2 outs, 2-2 on Kubel.
Well, Denard gets a great jump right here. He's looking in all the way right from the start. But I think when you look at the game they played last night, and we talked a lot about Rod Gardenhire wanting to rest guys and not push guys quite as hard in these first couple of games. But I think after the game they played last night, I think he's going to turn it up a notch and try to get that mental focus back toward the first game of the playoffs.
Twins have lost 4 straight. It's the second time this year they have lost 4 in a row. They have never, and this is game number 157 for them, they have not lost 5 in a row this year. 3 balls and 2 strikes on Kubel.
Yeah, that's a fine line when you finish early. That's a fine line between how you rest the guys. You rest the guys based on their physical abilities at that particular time in terms of injuries and soreness and things like that. But you don't expect your guys to mentally go on break. You want to rest their bodies, but you want them to be in the game, and they may have to come in to pinch hit or something like that. So I think that's where his frustration comes from.
O'Sullivan fields, tags out Kubel, and that's the end of the top of the first inning. last night. The Royals were down 3-0. Here's the M&I Bank batting order for tonight, and it's the same batting order as last night, and why not? The Royals came up with 10 runs on 13 hits, and the game-winning hit came from Josh Fields with a 2-run home run in the bottom of the 4th inning. Both of his home runs this year are against Minnesota. Here's the Kia report on right-hander Nick Blackburn.
Nick Blackburn's been tough of late, Ryan. Got that sinker down, getting those ground balls, and the Twins are 6-2 in his career versus KC. The key to him tonight, well, as far as the 4 rookies that have seen it for the first time, is learn fast. They've got 4 rookies that this is their first taste of Nick Blackburn's sinker.
Blackburn is not a big innings guy, so the team is 6-2 against the Royals when he pitches, but he is 1-2. Outside to Gerard Dyson. Dyson's home run last night, his first major league home run. That came in the 6-run 2nd inning, and it put an end to an 0-for-15 skid. So even with the home run, Gerard just 1 for his last 20.
Ryan, I talked to Ron Gardenhire before the game today, and the thing that really is upsetting, Matt, and that's where you listen to his interviews and you see the frustration that's coming out, is they base themselves on pitching down in the zone and getting ground balls. And this 4-0 loss stretch they're in right now, they're 0-4, is that the guys have been pitching up in the zone, and that's why they've been getting hit. And the game last night, really, he felt like Kevin Sloy should have won that game last night. He should have been able to get deeper in that game last night, but everything was up, flat through the zone, and that they just didn't make the adjustments.
And as it turned out, Kevin Sloy went an inning and 2/3, even though he was given a good-sized lead very early. 3 balls and 2 strikes on Dyson. One of the Royals' rallies last night began with a leadoff walk that hardly ever happens to the Twins. And it happens here in the bottom of the 1st inning. Minnesota defensively tonight. In the outfield, it's Delman Young, Denard Span, and Jason Kubel. On the infield, Danny Valencia is back to 3rd. He was the DH last night. Nick Puntos at short. Matt Tolbert to 2nd. Michael Kadire at 1st. And Jose Morales is behind the plate. So Dyson at 1st for Mike Aviles. We have grown to expect Minnesota to walk the fewest hitters in the American League. It's been like that for years, but it just seems to continue to get better. With that walk, the Twins have walked 363 as a team this year. That's the fewest, but it's the fewest by 71. I mean, it's not even close. So it's the Twins and everyone else in that department. That's pitching coach Rick Anderson, who pitched briefly for the Royals.
Now you can see where the frustration comes in. You just don't want your guys to get, you work so hard to win the division. I really think that that's the single hardest thing to do in the game, is to win the division, because of so many games you have to go through. But when you get it done, there's always that little sigh of relief. It's done. So now you got to start thinking about the next level and getting them back up and getting them excited, getting them mentally into the game, and that's what they're going to have to fight, because when they leave here, they got 4 games against Toronto, and Toronto's 6 games over 500, so that's not going to be an easy weekend for them at home. So they're going to have to be ready to play this weekend when they get back to Minneapolis.
Be a good matchup or preview for them if they end up with the Yankees in the 1st round, because the Blue Jays are a power hitting team. They hit a lot of home runs. There's a ground ball, base hit into center field. Span charges aggressively and has to keep Dyson at 2nd base. So Mike Aviles has hit in 6 straight games, and the Royals have 2 on with nobody out.
And Mike continues to have a great September, Ryan, and he's just hitting the ball exactly where it's pitched. That it ball's right down the middle of the plate, it's right back through the middle of the field, and that's a textbook hitting right there.
And now Billy Butler, who had 2 hits last night, drove in his 77th run. Yuniesky Betancourt also drove in his 77th run, so they're tied for the team lead in that category. Billy would have to have quite a tear in the remaining games, and there are 5 after tonight. He is at 183 hits, which is 4th in the American League, and you know he would love to get to 200, but he has to get a little more than, well, right about 3 hits per game for the rest of the year, a little less than that.
Well, he finished at 183 last year also, Ryan, so he's right in the same ballpark. I think this year is the first year that Billy's heard hitting coaches and managers talk about the fact that you have to supply more power. You have to try to drive the ball more. He's not used to hearing that type of talk, because he's used to be stay in the alleys, line drives, get the base hits, and now he's being asked to do a little bit more.
Down in the count, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Fox Track shows us that this is a great changeup. This ball is right on the outside part of the plate. Outstanding pitch.
Billy has done well against Nick Blackburn. He is 7 out of 21 with a home run. And out in front again, Blackburn strikes him out. So 1st and 2nd and 1 away.
You know, same pitch, same location, and the same results. And I think Billy was looking for anything other than a changeup back-to-back from Nick Blackburn.
It's been a roller coaster ride for Blackburn this year. In spring training, the Twins gave him a 4-year contract extension. But then by the end of July, he found himself in the minor leagues. But since he's returned, he has elevated his game. And right now, he's the best thing going for the Twins as far as a starting pitcher. Ball went inside to Keila Kaihue. Keila 1 out of 3 with a double and drove in a run last night. He's facing Blackburn for the first time. Blackburn had an excellent start on Wednesday against Cleveland, but the 4 starters since then, including last night, have combined for an ERA over 11. And that's what Ron Gardenhire was talking about when we heard from him at the top of the broadcast. Yes, it was nice that Minnesota scored 8 runs on 10 hits. He'll take that every night, but for them, it all begins with pitching, and they did not pitch well. Runners go. Keila takes down and in, and the throw goes down to 3rd on 1 hop. So a double steal. Dyson gets his 7th, and Mike Aviles adds to his career high with his 12th.
But you knew it was going to be a matter of time before Ned Yelps lets that speed loose at second base, and Dyson takes third base easily.
So no chance for a ground ball and a double play. And Keela's ahead in the count, 2-1. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Well, the Royals can expect to get their hits against Nick Blackburn. The league is hitting over 300 against him, although those numbers are much better lately. He is definitely a strike thrower and fits into the mold of the Minnesota Twins pitcher of throwing strikes, keeping the ball down, not many strikeouts, hardly any strikeouts. Down around the end of the bat, back goes Kubel. He looks up, it is gone. Keila muscles it over the wall in right field, and the Royals have a 3-0 lead.
And the one thing you want to do right as a pitcher is you want to stay away from routine, and He went with the changeup to get Billy Butler, and here Keelan gets another changeup right here. He waits on it. He gets it right on the sweet spot of the bat and hits it out of the ballpark. So this is when you slow yourself down, try to put the ball in play, and changeup played right into his hand.
So the 6th home run for Aquila this year, his first 3-run home run. And Sean O'Sullivan next to him has a 3-0 lead as Fields grounds it on 2 hops to Valencia. And there are 2 down in the bottom of the first inning. So the Royals continue their recent power surge. Had a 2-run home run from Dyson last night, a 2-run home run from Josh Fields. And when you are a strike thrower like Nick Blackburn, you will give up your share of home runs. And Blackburn has given up 22, even though that number has been cut severely since being recalled from the minor leagues. That's only the 2nd home run as a starter he's given up since coming back from the minor leagues.
Well, Ryan, those changeups have been straight changeups, too. They haven't had any type of movement to them at all. Say back-to-back to Billy Butler, again, the Kahui in that situation. So you have to ask yourself, if you Nick Blackburn, was that my best pitch in that situation? Runners 2nd and 3rd, you're a single ball guy. You keep the ball on the ground, you may give up 1 run, but you don't give up 3 runs.
1-1 on Alex, who put an end to an 0 for 12 last night with 2 hits. He had a tough road trip, just 2 out of 22, but 2 hits and a run scored last night. 2 balls, 1 strike.
Well, just take a look at this swing right here. I mean, Keeler just slowed himself down, Ryan, and he just he met this ball right at the right part, right out in front of the plate. Great swing.
I thought he hit it down around the end of the bat, which he did. He didn't get it right in the fat part of the bat. It wasn't quite off the end. But, of course, Keela doesn't need it right on the sweet spot with his strength.
Yeah, when it goes 400 feet, it goes over the wall. And you look like the sweet spot's only maybe 6-7 inches on the bat. You can see where it hits right. It just got extended very well on it.
And now Alex into deep left center field. Span is back at the wall, and he makes the catch. But the Royals get 3 as Keela hits his 6th of the year. We've been working on this for a while, and we finally got it done tonight. David DeJesus joins us in the booth, and as soon as he walks into the booth, Keela hits a 3-run home run.
Yeah, it's a lucky second inning. That was the first inning this time. He introduced it at second inning. So it's good to be here, and let's do it.
Well, obviously we wish you were on the field And I guess the closest thing to that would be in uniform like you are right now and starting to take batting practice again. How does the thumb feel?
It felt good yesterday, but today it was a little sore from the first day out there taking batting practice, and I know it's getting better. I was doing therapy downstairs. I want to say hi to Chris Getz and Mitch Meyer, who were down there laying on the tables with me. But yeah, it's feeling good. Hopefully we can get a few BPs in a row before the year ends.
Michael Kadire out on a fly ball to center field, one away. So you've had a chance to take some swings. You've had a chance to get back into the outfield. I would think, David, that there's a difference between the doctor saying, okay, you're okay to swing, but then convincing yourself that you can take a David DeJesus swing and you're not going to re-injure yourself.
Yeah, during batting practice yesterday, I was kind of holding the bat gingerly, wasn't taking the same path I would during the season, feeling 100%. But I think it's just a learning curve, trusting myself in a matter of time.
The thing with the bat, though, if you don't firm it up like you should, then that's when you get those vibrations and things like that, and you really feel like you're not ready to be where you need to be. But the good thing in your situation is that you got all winter.
Yeah.
And you can take your time.
Exactly. I have, December is when I usually start up again, so I do have another 2 to 3 months to let it heal and get it ready for next year.
Base hit to left field with one out for Danny Valencia. Tonight's number for our Take the Field sweepstakes is 15. If you'd like to win a pair of replica Royals jerseys, go to foxsportskansascity.com during tonight's game and enter the sweepstakes, including number 15. And in Royals history, Darrell Porter, Mike McFarland, and Carlos Beltran wore number 15. So Valencia at first, one out, and ball one to Jose Morales. Now, this doesn't apply to you because you've been around for a while, but I know some younger players, of course, they hate getting injured, but they pick up something about the game when they don't have to hang on every single pitch and think about their at-bats, just watching the game from a different angle. Does that apply to you at all?
Yeah. Just seeing the little things the good hitters in the game do. Getting able to watch Joe Mauer, on TV. Justin Morneau, he hasn't been, around for a while, but, just the A-Rods and things like that. You see him up close, and you see him, like 30 feet away. You see their approach in the, in the on-deck circle. And those are little things that, I pick up and, try and introduce into my game more.
A little easier to see it from there than out in right field.
Exactly. Not worried about them at all when I'm in right field. I'm just looking at Rusty, but he's not there anymore. So
Morales is out number 2. Valencia moves up to second base.
Let's see here, Ryan, Sean O'Sullivan. You look at Fox Tracks. That's a great changeup right up the end of the bat, and he does a good job right here. What he does good is he gets over the ball and fills it with his bare hand and makes a nice throw to Keela at first base.
Now, I think that changeup inside is a tough pitch for, I think, any hitter.
Especially following a fastball inside.
Exactly. I think, I don't know why pitchers don't use that pitch a lot more. It seems like the changeup has gone away from the game.
That was a Jamie Moria special right there. I mean, he would get you 1 and 2, then he'd throw you way in off the plate with a fastball, then come back inside with a changeup, and he get a lot of strikeouts that way.
Yeah. And if he has the same arm angle, you have no clue really. You think it's a fastball right away, and that's hopefully just
is that when you throw your bat down to first base?
Or into the stands,
Oh, that's funny. We got a private screen for you. You know how when they raise that screen when they kick field goals? We got that over the first base dugout. When you come out with they'll raise
Definitely.
that screen.
I know. It's it's kind of crazy because I have a feeling when I'm about to throw the bat. I'm walking up to the plate. I'm like, a couple of times this year I told the catcher, I don't know if this is going to be a good one. And next thing you know, let it go because I think I put too much pine tar on it or something like that.
Lucas May runs to the screen, and it lands on the other side. Still 1 and 2 on Tolbert. It's interesting what you guys say about the changeup inside because I would think most pitchers feel like the changeup should be down and away, but you guys are saying it's just as effective if it's inside.
Oh, definitely. Especially a lefty on lefty, righty on righty, I think, because it's so used to, change up away, soft away, fast in, you know. So if you come fast in, change up in, it's, you know, it's something that you don't expect.
Well, you're going through an era, too, David, where lefties didn't normally throw lefties changeups. This has been this year. I've seen more of it this year than at any time. Usually lefties would reserve that changeup for the right-handed hitters and vice versa. So now you got right-handers like O'Sullivan. Now they're throwing changeups to right-handers and left-handers.
3-0 Royals on the Keila Kaihue home run. And Matt Tolbert has Danny Valencia at second base. And grounded right to Aviles. So Sean O'Sullivan gets around the one-out single. And we go to the bottom of the second. Royals lead 3-0. And let's take a look at tonight's You Call It, presented by Sprint. David DeJesus is in the booth with us tonight. The most impressive current streak is at Billy Butler's hit streak in series. David's team record 241 consecutive errorless games, or Joakim Soria's 35 straight saves, which he added to last night. Text 432-432. Enter keyword Royals, a space, A, B, or C. Standard text rate supply.
To borrow a line from Ryan, David, what your thoughts?
Well, I think Billy's streak is pretty good. You know, 102, you know, straight series is, you know, I think it's like we were talking about during the break, you know, staying healthy, you know, is the key for that, you know, because I know when I got hurt this year, the first game against the Yankees, I had 2 at-bats, and next, you know, I came out the game with a thumb injury. So then that would have been my streak ended. But, you know, I think Soria's done it against good teams, against everybody. So that's, you know, commendable just as well.
Uni puts an end to an 0 for 10 with a single to center field. So the Royals have the leadoff man on in consecutive games. And right now he can smile and relax because it's going to be a while until he comes into the game, and he will get a nice round of applause as he does every night when he makes that walk out to the bullpen and walks right by you when you're in right field.
Yeah, and then walks right by me when I'm on the training table too. When you know, when he's getting ready, I know his whole routine. He comes in, gets his ankle taped, and you know, I pretty much know his thing down pat right now. So, you know, but he's just as consistent as, you know, as a closer can be.
No doubt.
It's one of those games when he comes in the game, when you hear that song, the fire, start coming on, you know we're most likely going to win that game.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
How about when that fire is going around the ballpark and it's August and it's 95 degrees? What do you think about that?
No? I think it pumps it up. I think the weather gets a little hotter on that field.
Look at this, David.
I'll take that.
52%.
All right.
Keep
Just
texting.
Just because I'm up here.
No.
Because I was watching it yesterday. Lucas May had 0%, and then it got his double, and then next thing you know, 7% right away. And so,
I mean, if Lucas May needed a campaign manager, right?
Yeah, I got him.
Come right up here.
I got him.
1-1 on Lucas, who had his first Major League extra base hit last night with a double, and he drove in 3, which is a career high. He's facing Nick Blackburn for the first time. You have a lot of experience against Nick Blackburn, and Lucas gets one through the left side, and the Royals have 2 on with nobody out. If the hitters came to you and said, David, what should I be ready for? How do I go after Nick Blackburn? What would you say?
You know, Nick Blackburn's he's gonna try and front door that fastball. He's gonna try and work on both sides of the plate. You know, hard inside, soft away. You know, he has a changeup that he keeps away. Like when he struck out Billy, you know, he can place it there in the corner, but he makes his mistakes up in the zone. And you know, you got to be ready for that one pitch, that one mistake. And you know, he's a tough pitcher, but I think once you get to him, you kind of rattle him a little bit.
Now, David was not looking at the screen when he was describing Nick Blackburn, so he did not see the numbers that you saw at home on your televisions. But if I were to ask you, do you do well against Nick Blackburn? Do you do okay against Nick Blackburn, or do you struggle against Nick Blackburn?
I think I do pretty well against him.
Yeah, 524.
Yeah. I feel me and Mitch were talking about him, you know, while we were on the tables next to each other, and he has a little hitch in his delivery that kind of gives you that when you're getting ready and when you stride, he gives you that little land before you move into the ball. You know, it's one of those things that I think helps us out as hitters, and you know, me and Mitch were just talking about before coming up here.
The training room table, that's an odd place for Mitch. You know, Mitch is Mitch is not usually a guy you find in the training room very often.
Never. You know, he's one of the, you know, if something hurts, he'll get his treatment and he'll be out. And you know, he's a hard player and does a great job for us.
Jason Kubel makes a great catch in right center field. That takes extra bases away from Jay Miller. Unieski Betancourt moves up to third base. So first and third and 1 out. The Twins giving Jay Miller a taste of his own medicine.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing there, Brian. Jason Kubel went deep back in the right center field. This is one of the better plays I've seen him make, and he does a good job, you know, stopping himself and getting the ball back into second base. Uni does a good job reading the ball. He almost left too fast there, but he went back and did a good job. May did what you don't normally see guys do. And you know, when I played, he got ball like that, they said, go put that foot on second base, and if you dropped it, you score. A lot of times guys want to go back to first and tag up and try to get to second base.
Twins with a chance to turn 2, and that bobble cost them. Although, I don't know if Punto with Dyson speed could turn the double play, and the Royals take a 4-0 lead.
Yeah, that's one of those infant, I guess touches the base, but in the vicinity kind of thing.
That's in the vicinity. Let me see. He touched it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
He couldn't get that exchange made.
Yeah, we got it.
You could see where he just tried to get it, just right on the tip of his fingers. You know,
yeah, and that's Dyson's speed.
You just got to look the ball into your glove.
Yeah. I think the speed kind of made him hurry a little bit.
Think it scared him?
Maybe. Hope so. There you go.
Oh, man, did he get a break.
Yeah, stand up.
Jose Morales dropped the ball, but it didn't matter. That was a stolen base off of Blackburn. And Dyson has 2 tonight and 8 on the year.
This is a great jump here, Ronnie. The lead didn't look extremely big, but he got such a great jump. He could have went in standing up on that one.
It seems like he gets to that second level, second gear pretty quickly. He's an exciting player, and he might have a long career if he keeps doing his thing.
Well, with your leadership, I'm sure he'll be able to develop into a very good outfielder.
Yeah. Definitely. Rusty's, and I've been around baseball a while, and he's one of the best outfield coaches, I've ever had. And, he teaches you a lot and knows so much about the game. And I give a lot of, my credit of my streak and everything to Rusty.
Of course, he'll turn around and give it right back to you and remind us, and he's right, that you kind of ruin it for the other guys because it's much more difficult to bounce around the different outfield positions, especially when you're a center field by nature. As Blackburn throws it into center field, and it's an error on him, and Dyson goes to third base with 2 down.
Well, Nick Blackman right here wants to use the inside move, but this is a situation here where he didn't see the gap between the shortstop and the base runner, so he should have just held on to that ball.
He's got him in the back of the head there.
Oof, we don't need any more of those.
No. And Getsy's still going through that, It seems like a lot more in baseball. You're seeing this concussion thing come up, and it's a scary thing because, that's your life,
Well, Justin Morneau, Ron Gardenhire's been without him for 3 months now, over 3 months.
Yeah, I was listening to Ned's pregame interview with the media yesterday, and they asked him about concussions and what did they do in our day when we played, and Ned's he said, I don't know. He said, I think we just played with him because we know nothing about him.
Yeah.
I know there were times where, I remember one time I tagged a guy out at second base and did a pop-up slide, and his helmet hit me under the chin, knocked me out for a little bit, but I just shook it off, played. So we probably did play with concussion back in those days, not knowing exactly what it was.
There's so much research right now going on about it. In football, I think that's the start of everything. And now with baseball, you're seeing more and more of it. And when you have an all-star player like Justin Morneau out for 3 months, teams are going to be, on the cautious side with everything.
Aviles into the left field corner, and that is up against the wall. The Royals have a 5-0 lead, and Aviles is 2 for 2. So 3 runs in the first, and now 2 in the second.
Into the dugout, we're like, oh, that's odd. Mike gets a hit, another hit. Seems like he's always on base now.
Well, Mike, when you lead the ball inside, this is where you really see his power. This is where he stays at his best. He's underneath his body and gets his hands through it up, especially on the fastball up. He can really hit that ball well, middle and up. That's a nice swing.
Yeah.
Got through the ball, wrist roll late, finish high.
Definitely.
Nice swing.
And now Billy with Aviles at second base. Blackburn struck him out first time and just missed down and away, ball 1. Actually, looking at the dates, it was July the 15th when Justin Morneau went down, so it's about 2.5 months, but I'm sure it seems like 3 or 4 months for the Twins.
That's a guy that produces. When he's on the on the field, he's an all-star caliber first baseman. Up at plate, you don't know where he's going to hit the ball because he has power everywhere. So he's just a tough matchup overall.
David, you played left field, right field, center field, and Ryan and I had this conversation before. It's like no matter how many of these positions you can play out here, you always play one better than any of them. So if you had to pick between these 3 outfield positions, which one do you think you're the best at?
I would say center field, just because I have 10 or 11 years of playing it, from when I was real, like 10 years old. So, that's experience. But I feel like I'm not one of the fastest guys, but I feel like my jumps and I'm able to see the swing of the batter. That helps me out to gain those extra steps where, the fast guys don't get those jumps, but their speed catches up to the ball.
Billy swinging on 3-0. And into right center. Span runs it down. The Royals add 2 and lead 5-0. AT&T. Find out what's possible with the nation's fastest mobile broadband network. AT&T, rethink possible. By Panera Bread, explore a menu of hearty soups, salads, sandwiches, and breakfast items at Panera Bread. And by Chevrolet, come see for yourself why 1,000 people a day are switching to Chevy. Inside to Nick Punto, with the Royals leading 5-0. Sean O'Sullivan has pitched 2 scoreless innings, getting around an error in the first, a 1-out single in the second. Mike Aviles is 2 for 2 with a run scored and an RBI. Two balls, no strikes. Punto, one of many Twins who have been on the disabled list this year. He's been on the DL twice. Right now the Twins are without J.J. Hardy and Joe Mauer for this series. That's not going to break anyone's heart here in Kansas City, what Mauer has done to the Royals this year.
He's one of those guys that, he's going to get his 3 or 4. So hopefully no one's on base in front of him, and it's tough. They have a tough lineup, and you can see why they're, going to make the postseason. They have a good lineup, and then pitchers that just battle and give you innings, and that's a good combination.
David, we were talking earlier about what you've been able to watch since going on the disabled list. Who are the guys that you like to watch if you have a chance to study them on tape or watch them when they're at the plate, where you say, I want to watch this guy's at bat?
I would say a guy like Mauer, just because he's so patient at the plate. He's always seems like he's taking the first pitch, and it doesn't ever rattle him, and he never seems flustered at the plate. He's always, composed, and he never shows that he's, beaten, kind of, type of, and at the plate. So I think he's the number one guy that I like to watch and study from, because he's done everything on the field. He hits 360, and who hates watching a 360 hitter?
Nobody. Leadoff walk to Punto. Don't miss your chance to come to Kauffman Stadium for the last college night of the year. It's Thursday, the Royals and the Rays at 7:10. Specials include select tickets for high school and college students with a valid ID for just $7, plus food and beverage specials in the outfield plaza concession areas. Royals.com or 1-800-6-ROYALS for tickets. So Punto at first, and now the top of the order, and Denard Span. Thought about laying one down and takes ball 1. David DeJesus joining us in the booth. What do you think about this point of view up here? You probably haven't seen a game from this angle where everything is right out in front of you.
Yeah, it looks nice. It looks a lot easier, like we were talking about before. The games look so much easier. The ball's kind of straight, and the outfield looks big, and it looks, it's like, wow, we cover that much ground in the outfield.
Yeah.
It's a pretty cool sight. I'd like to be down the bull, in the dugout as long as possible, though. That's for sure.
Nothing like playing.
Yeah. It's like when you get injured, you're just sitting there and you're just like, man, I want to get back on that field. Just that competitiveness in you. And I can't wait till that happens next.
Being injured is boring.
Yeah.
It's boring.
It's like Groundhog Day, because it's the same, the same routine, same rehab, and nothing beats being out there, taking BP and getting ready for a game.
But when I first came up, we only had one trainer. So when guys got hurt, and they always tell the younger guys, they had to come in at noon and get their treatment and get out of the way. And a lot of times the manager back in those days didn't want the injured players around because they felt they weren't serious enough on the bench watching the game. So they would just get the treatment, go home, and we just play with them. Play. So that was an incentive for the guy to get back a lot quicker.
Definitely.
Span lines it to left field. Alex is there to make the catch, and we've been talking about David and his defense and all the ground that he has to cover here at Kauffman Stadium. Here are highlights here and on the road.
Yeah, I don't know why I fell on that one. there's a wire out there.
That's 2 catches in the same series.
I think that was the same game.
Same game.
Yeah.
Now, here's the one he doesn't want to look at. Did you know, or how soon did you know that this was serious when he hit the wall?
Once I knew I jumped up early, and I caught it, and I came down, and I feel it just press against that corner, where it meets, and I heard a pop right away, and I thought it was my wrist, and I get up, I flex my wrist felt good, but I was looking in between my thumb and my index finger, and it was like blown up. So I was like, oh, I knew something was wrong right away. So I walked off the field, and when I got to the, to get the x-ray, the doctor looked at it and pushed it down, and there was no stability there, and I knew something was wrong, and he was like, yeah, it's a grade 3. I think it's out of 3. There's grades of something, and it was done. I'm pretty happy they didn't give me an error on that, though.
Derek is probably glad he got a base hit.
I know. I'm happy with Derek Jeter because they're going to give him his home run.
Right. That's right. That was an inside the park home run.
Yeah.
So 1 on, 1 out, 5-0 Royals, and Orlando Hudson, who lined to center field in the first inning. Down in the count, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Now we hear this guy is about as talkative as they come during the game.
Definitely. You always hearing something. He's congratulating you. You're just talking to see how your family's doing. Then I heard that he does the O-Dog from the bark. Were you guys talking about that yesterday? I didn't know about that, but you do hear a random bark during the game. So I guess that that is him. Gordo make yes.
Alex Gordon, boy, he's been making a lot of those lately. He has hardly looked awkward at all since moving to left field. Talk about this play. What are the challenges on this one?
This one is one of those that you hope it doesn't get in the lights, and you're just coming in. You're just, he's reaching out the glove, and I think he knew right away that he was going to make that play, and it's just one of the things that just slide and protect yourself. Keep your arms away from your body. And he did a great job of making. That's Alex has done that play. I've seen the last 3 games. I know in Cleveland he made something like that. Mm-hmm. So he's been doing great out there.
That's a fair ball. So now Alex has to deal with the corner, and he picks it out. So Punto stops at third base, and Delman Young is into second with a double.
So Delman's been a tough at bat this year. It seems like he's one of those guys that's always really aggressive first couple of pitches, but now this year it seems like he's. We don't throw him the fastball right away, but it seems like he's hitting that off-speed stuff just as well as the fastball. So, it's kind of tough for a pitcher and you can't leave it down the middle.
Well,
either,
David, we talk about routine, and we talk about getting in that same pitching pattern. His first at bat, they started him off with that same pitch, and he popped it up, and they come back with the same pitch, and he gets a base hit. So, that's why I say when you become predictable as a pitcher, then hitters that have been around a little while can pick that up.
Yeah.
And I imagine word spreads in the dugout, right? Hey, he's throwing that curveball for first pitch. Be ready for it.
Oh, definitely. And as much video as we get these days, you can kind of at bat see how he's gotten you out. So there's so much technology that you can use to help you out. And I guess for a pitcher, it's kind of tough. The batter's always going to be ready.
Some hard hit balls, but good defense. And no runs for Minnesota in the third.
tough on the stomach.
Or at least a brain freeze, right?
Yeah.
This is Jeannie Patterson, and in 1995 she joined with Cerner Corporation Associates to establish the First Hand Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to assisted individual children with health-related needs when insurance and other financial resources have been exhausted. And since its inception, the First Hand Foundation has distributed more than $12 million to over 93,000 lives in 70 countries. And sitting in the Buck O'Neill legacy seat at tonight's game is Keela. Goes deep to right field again, and just over the wall for his second home run.
Good time to turn it on last week. We'll take it. We'll take it right now. He's struggling a little bit with his confidence up there, but if he just relaxes and waits on the ball.
Yeah, that's the one thing we talked about, was just making sure you stay back, let the ball come to you, and trust your hands to work. And this home run here is in the first inning right here we see, and he comes back with back-to-back home run. And he really gets the fastball this time. He really jumps on top of it. He used to get that ball up a lot of times, but I tell you what, look how he stayed back on his backside, and only thing went forward was the hands. Great, that's a great swing.
David, you talk about having the confidence to hit at this level, and you had pretty immediate success. I even felt that when you first came up, your numbers weren't that great, but you weren't striking out and popping up and looking overmatched, in my opinion. I mean, you were hitting the ball hard, and then when you came back up, you put it together, your second stint with the Royals. But how long did it take you to say, look, I've been hitting my whole life, this is the highest level in the world, but I'm just going to go up there and do what I can do and not worry about the other stuff?
It was just my first time up, I went 1 for 23, and I was really, to be honest with you, at a point where I was like, let me go back down to AAA. I was like, I was overmatched up here.
You think
and
so?
Really? I'm just giving you.
Okay.
That's how I felt,
okay.
And I was like, let me go back down to AAA, and I went back down to AAA, and a month still, I was like at 320, went down to 250. And I was like at a point where, all right, let me just go back to what got me here. Just stay relaxed, go the other way. And next was able to get back to 300. Got called back up. And then I got, I think one of my first hits was off of Joe Nathan. Tough pitcher, closer. I don't think he was closing at that time. But that kind of just got my confidence going. And then once you just get that scaredness out of you, I think you can go out there and just be yourself. And then after once I got those first few hits when I came back up, everything was good.
Because I would think for the common fan who maybe played in Little League or high school or in college would think, man, this is a big ballpark. Alex Gordon down on strikes, 2 away. Television cameras everywhere. I mean, everyone's watching this on TV. It's on the radio. It's being written about in all the newspapers. And, I mean, so the people out there on the Pepsi party porch in right field or at Rivals, they're looking at this and they're thinking, man, what would it be like to play in front of all these people?
Yeah.
But I guess eventually you just tune it out.
Exactly. You don't really worry about it. It's a big deal. But you don't get it because you're doing it every single day.
Keela hits his second home run of the game. So he has 7 this year, and the Royals lead 6-0. Now Sean O'Sullivan has a 6-0 lead as we go to the 4th inning, facing Michael Kadire, who flied out first time. And Kadire's ahead, 2 balls, no strikes. Kila Kaihue, his first Major League 2 home run game with a 3-run shot in the 1st inning and solo in the 3rd. 2 balls and 1 strike on Kadire. You know, I was just thinking about this, David, and your thumb surgery, and it had been a long time since you had a serious injury. Kadire gets it past Kila, but Jay Miller is on it quickly, so Kadire has a leadoff single. But I'm reminded of what you went through before you got to the big leagues. And correct me if I'm wrong here. You had Tommy John surgery on your left elbow. You were hit in the face by a pitch. You missed your first pro season because of a broken forearm. You had a dislocated right shoulder in 2003 camp. I remember that in Surprise. And then you missed the last month of 05 because of a right shoulder injury. Wow.
Yeah. Tough start. And at Rutgers, where I went to college and played, I didn't get injured once. So till this day, I just talked to one of my friends that was a player at Rutgers, and he's like, "Oh, you're hurt again? That's odd." I'm like, yeah, but it's one of those things that nothing you can do. I go out there, playing the game hard as I can, and I know a couple of them on the diving fly balls, and what can you do? Injuries happen, and just getting over them.
Valencia into shallow center, and Dyson is there for the out. So Valencia is 1 for 2 as we take a look at tonight's Roadrunner Turbo Speed Pitch comparison. Sean O'Sullivan, at least on our gun, is at 96 miles an hour. That might be news to him as well. Nick Blackburn is at 94. You can double your speed with Roadrunner Turbo from Time Warner Cable. Or you can double your speed by just pitching at Kauffman Stadium.
Yeah, something's a little hot down there.
Yeah, we're as we watch the for the speed, and we're always subtracting it by 3 or 4.
Okay.
We know our gun is kind of juiced up, and it makes it good for the pitcher. They're looking up seeing 96. Maybe it gets them pumped up. I don't know.
I think the first time we noticed it was in Hoch's game. They had him up at 97. And I said,
Second game of the year, yeah.
I said, wow.
Jeez.
In the rain, it was like 40 degrees, and he's throwing 97. Whoa.
He'll take that. That's for sure.
Backhanded by Kila. Down to second for 1. O'Sullivan covering. Couldn't make the pick. And it hits the netting in front of the Royals dugout. So Kadire is out at second base, and there are 2 down. Let's take a look at tonight's league leaders, brought to you by your Kansas City area Toyota dealers. And now David with the longest active outfield errorless streak in front of Ben Zobrist, who also plays the infield, and Franklin Gutierrez, who's a very good center fielder for Seattle, but it's not even close with a 42-game lead in front of Ben Zobrist.
I didn't know he played that many games in the outfield.
Neither did I. And a strike now on Matt Tolbert. I don't even remember now. It's been so long what the previous record was. Amos Otis had it for consecutive errorless games.
Like 185
yeah,
or something.
so.
185, I think it was.
So. Try and add on next year.
That was 2 allergy seasons ago, and at least a dozen thunderstorms.
How
was Amos Otis? Did you see him playing a lot?
Oh,
I didn't really.
My whole career.
Oh yeah.
He was, in my opinion, the best base runner I ever played with.
Morales going to go first to third on the seeing eye base hit for Tolbert. Just got it past O'Sullivan, and just got it past Betancourt and Aviles out into shallow center field.
And I think he was the best fundamental player ever played. He never tried to throw out a guy he couldn't throw out, and he always tried to keep the double play in order.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Let's take a look at some more highlights from David this year on defense. Now, Frank and I, it didn't help. I don't think it hurt, but we did whatever we could on the broadcast trying to get you a Gold Glove in left field last year. It's a shame that
Boy, did we get beat up.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, people hated you.
Yeah.
Not people, just a certain group of numbers, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. It's too bad that normally it's 3 center fielders that win the Gold Glove. I mean, every other position you have to be playing, that position. For instance, the outfield or the infield, you're not going to give 4 Gold Gloves to 4 shortstops. The Gold Gloves go to a first baseman, a second baseman, a shortstop, and a third baseman. But for some reason in the outfield, they bunch them all together.
And I think offensive production also is a part of that too.
It shouldn't be, but
yeah,
if you play the games,
yeah,
then the numbers on offense shouldn't matter.
Yeah. It's just the way it is.
1 ball, 1 strike on Punto. Oh, Sullivan hasn't had an easy inning yet. He's had to get around an error in the first inning, a single in the second, a double in the third, as well as a walk in the third. And now 2 on, 2 out in the fourth, pitching with a big lead. And he's going to get out of it again as Punto lines out to Aviles. So we go to the bottom of the 4th inning, still 6-0 Royals. To the bottom of the 4th inning. Want to remind you again about our KC Sports Media Challenge, a bowling tournament at Lucky Strike in the Power and Light District. Royals alumni will be there with Kansas City sports media personalities, and we're collecting items for the Salvation Army and also for an orphanage in Haiti. And if you'd like more information, you can go to foxsportskansascity.com or royals.com to get a complete list of those items. And we hope you'll come out and join us for that. That's a week from tonight, beginning at 7 o'clock at Lucky Strike. Come out and watch Frank bowl and hopefully Frank bowl. I was talking about watching Frank White bowl, B-O-W-L, but I'm also hoping that Frank Bowl, our television and radio sports media legend in Kansas City, will also hopefully join us as Lucas May flies out to left field. And 1 down in the 4th inning. And, of course, Joel will be trying to defend his title as the kingpin. So Lucas May 1 out of 2. Nick Blackburn, who has been excellent lately for the Twins. And we told you about his last start, giving up just 1 run, 5 hits in 7 innings against Cleveland, with the Royals with 3 in the first, 2 in the second, and 1 in the third. So Sean O'Sullivan enjoying a big lead. Remember, the last time he had a 6-0 lead was that game in Chicago, and the White Sox came back and scored 12. So he probably doesn't want to hear anything about a 6-0 lead right now. Just In fact, he's held the Twins scoreless. That's the most important thing. And he's held them scoreless for 4 innings. Jay Miller out on a fly ball to deep right field in the 2nd inning, and a nice play by Jason Kubel. Boy, what a great story, David. Jay Miller and everything he's gone through and how long it took him to get to the big leagues, and now he's got his first big league hit and his first big league home run.
It's a beautiful thing. You know, it's a great feeling when you get those out of the way, and then you can move on, you know, from that. And you know, he seems like a quality guy. You know, prepares himself, and he's struggling right now, but he's going out there putting good at bats, and that's all you can ask for. A guy that's going to come prepared, battle for you. He's going to play good defense out there in right field. So, he's a guy that I guess the Royals are going to look at for next year.
And now back to the top of the order, and Gerard Dyson, who's been on base twice. He has stolen 2 bases, and he has scored 2 runs.
How do you guys feel about the younger mindset of the Royals right now? You know, what is your feel on that?
Wow. Turning the questions on us.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
You go first, Frank.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen it a lot.
Yeah.
Since 1995, I've seen it a lot. I've seen you go through the minor league turnover that went through with Damon and Sweeney and all those guys, and you get the guys to all-star status, and then all of a sudden they're gone. Then you got to reinvent the wheel again. So I've seen it 2 or 3 times since I've been here, since 96. But I think this year you see it's a little bit better. I think we'll take it up at the next inning, but I think it's a good thing by that.
6-0 Royals at the end of 4.
Yeah, because I think we have some guys.
Just asking us about the Royals' future, and we want you to come out on Friday night. You'll have a chance to meet the Royals' future. The minor league pitchers and players of the year will be here. They'll sign autographs. They'll get their awards before the game, and then after the game, it's a fireworks spectacular presented by Hy-Vee and Pepsi. That's the Royals and the Rays at 7:10. Royals.com or 1-800-6-ROYALS for tickets. So, Frank, you were talking about the direction the Royals are going right now after David threw a question your way.
Well, I like what's going on with the young guys right now. I think that there's an element of speed. The guys are somewhat more athletic. I like that aspect of it. It kind of throws me back to 06 when you need 2 corner guys to really get you going. And Alex was the guy at third base, Billy was the guy at first base. And now you're looking at Mike Moustakas, and you're looking at Eric Hosmer, and you got Keel Kahui, who's going to have something to say about how all this stuff plays out. But I think that you can actually visibly see the progression of guys coming behind each other. And I think that's what I like, Christian Colon at shortstop and things like that. So, and the pitching is definitely something that they really like. The left-handed power arms, those are good. And I think that when I was managing in Double-A, we didn't have that strong minor league system. Everything was at Double-A. And I think right now, when Dayton took over, he wanted to build that minor league system from A-ball up. And I think that he's been able to get that done. So now it's about getting these guys through that next threshold to Double-A, to Triple-A, to the major leagues. So it's not going to happen overnight. But I think that, like Ryan mentioned, we've been touted by so many scouts as having one of the top minor league organizations in baseball. And that's something that hadn't been said for quite some time.
Yeah, definitely.
David, let me ask you about your journey to the big leagues. We mentioned all the injuries, but you got to the big leagues. You've had a successful big league career. Even with that, though, if you knew then what you know now, and you were in Double-A again, what do these guys need to know, aside from their skills on the baseball field, so that they can take that to this level? What have you learned?
I think the mental side of it is, so important, because you're going to have stretches where you're going to go over, and you're going to have those good stretches. So being able to stay even keel throughout the ups and the downs, because it's 162 games. It's such a grind. And I think also the length of the season too. Once the minor league ends at 140, those 22 extra games, that you feel it in your body. And those dog days of August are true. Everything, people say that little thing, dog days, but as a player, you feel it. And just being strong throughout the whole season, that'll definitely that's a big difference from the minor leagues coming up to the major leagues.
So something that, even though it's probably not happening a lot to guys like Mike Moustakas and Eric Hosmer in the minor leagues, but to get used to those streaks now where they're not hitting well and try and focus on just staying level.
Yeah, because in Double-A, they can pretty much go out there, and the way their numbers are, they were going out there, they weren't really making that many outs. You're going to go through stretches where they're both lefties. They're going to face CC. They're going to face these lefties that are tough, and they're going to go on that little streak where they're going to be like, "Oh, what's going on?" But trusting yourself and knowing that you can do it, that's going to help them, in the long run, be the player they want to be.
Well, I remember in your career, and help me out here, I'll look at the numbers. I don't remember if it was last year, which was a good year for you, or the year before, which was a good year for you. Was it last year or the year before where it didn't start out very good, but you ended up having a career-type season?
Yeah, that was last year.
Last year.
I definitely know that. I was hitting 230 till June, and I was at a point with Sights, that's our Sights, our hitting coach, and we were like, all right, let's forget about everything what happened, and let's just go forward from now on. And it's one of those things that got a couple hits, got the momentum rolling, and was able to stay strong throughout the rest of the season. And, like they say, you want to finish strong. And I feel that, it started terrible, but I was able to finish strong. And it showed that, how powerful your mind is. That, staying with yourself, believing in yourself, and knowing that you can compete with any guy out here, that's going to make you the player and give you the results.
So 230 into June, and finished at 281, which is not easy to do the more at-bats you get.
Yeah.
Career high 13 home runs, second most RBIs in your career. You finished with 28 doubles, 9 triples, so all of that after a 230 batting average into the month of June.
Yeah, it was a battle, that's for sure. It was one of the things I was grounded out all the time, and I really had no focus. The focus was there, but I was basing my, game on results rather than going up there and putting the work in and just worrying about getting a good at bat.
Royals turn a big double play, back-to-back walks to begin the inning, with now 1-4-3 and 2 down with a runner at third base.
Well, Sullivan made a real nice pitch here to Denard Span, got in on him, got a nice one-hopper back to him, and 1-4-3 on the double play. So one of the key things right here is he makes this catch, Ryan, then he just keeps his composure, doesn't get in a hurry, wants to make sure he gets a nice throw back to the second baseman, and Mike does a good job turning a double play. You know, one thing you like to see, though, you like to see the second baseman on the pitcher side of the bag and not on the back of the bag, because the ball has to travel further, gives a base runner a little bit close to give him a better opportunity to beat the throw to first. At the same time, it gives the runner coming down to break up the double play a better chance to take you out. So if you come on this side, everything's shorter.
Looking at that replay, it looked like Hudson was thinking that because he slid on the inside of the bag, it seemed like.
Yeah, when you
and
take a look,
Mike stayed on the backside of it. You know, he was sliding on that side thinking he was going to go that way.
Well, that's a second baseman
exactly.
thinking that that's where the second baseman should go.
Yeah.
That's where he should be.
Yeah. It's worked out.
All about results.
2 balls and 1 strike on Jason Kubel.
Taco Bell shows us 2 fox tracks. This is Sean O'Sullivan's great changeup. I mean, this ball, he different speeds on it, but when it goes down and away, the left-handers, that's when it's working at his best.
3 balls, 1 strike on Kubel, who is 0 for 2 after driving in 5 runs last night. So back-to-back walks to begin the inning, but a big double play. And the last time Sean O'Sullivan started against the Indians on Thursday, the Royals turned 2 double plays behind him. And Kubel was on his way to first base, but Tom Hallion calls strike 2.
I think that was 3 straight changeups.
Yeah, 3 straight changeups, 3 different speeds, but that's a dangerous place for a changeup right there. So if he's looking to hit right there, he's got a chance to hit that changeup. That didn't do anything. That just stayed straight, middle in.
And then a fastball just missed, and O'Sullivan just turns away. That's the right thing to do instead of showing up the umpire, but I think he believed that was a strike.
That was a good pitch.
Right, just down in the zone, right on the lower half of the square, and that's definitely a pitcher's pitch right there.
Yeah. As a hitter, you do not want that called. Right?
You can't do anything with it anyway.
Exactly. That's a ground out if you try and attack that one.
That's a lot of splinters rolling around out in the grass.
That's for sure.
So first and third for Kadire. That's 3 walks in the inning for Sean O'Sullivan, who normally doesn't walk anyone. But we told you that in his first start against the Twins, he had a season-high 5 walks. So this team will make you throw strikes.
And you know that as a team coming in, they're gonna force you to throw strikes. You know, there's a lot of hitters that trust themselves. It seems like, and guys on the bench. You got Tomei. You got a lot of players that are confident in their hitting to make the pitcher work, and they're a good team, definitely.
Down and into Kadire, who is singled and flied out to center field. The leadoff man has been on in 4 of 5 innings for the Twins, but none have come around to score. Against the Indians on Thursday, the leadoff man was on 5 of 7 innings. But the Indians only turned 1 of those innings into a run-scoring inning. So Sullivan pitched very well after the leadoff man reached. And that's lined into center field, so this time it's going to cost him a run as Span comes down from third, and Kubel goes first to third. Michael Kadire with his 80th RBI of the year.
Well, Sean O'Sullivan right here, Ryan, the biggest thing right there just pitches up. And the Kadire got inside of it, he hit a line drive into center field, and the Twins were able to get their first run on the board. But, you walk 3 guys in an inning, you got to be pretty fortunate to get out of it with nothing going on. So he just made a pitching mistake and paid for it right there.
And Kadire's one of those guys up that it seems like he always drives some type of run in against us. He's one of those guys that's a clutch hitter. And, especially if you leave the ball up with him, he's going to make you pay kind of a thing. He
was part of our trivia question last night. He had 19 RBIs against the Royals alone last year, which is the most for a Twin in any single season against the Royals. It's 1 ball, 1 strike on Danny Valencia. So Kadire now in his career has basically had almost a full season just against the Royals. 100 games, 17 home runs, 58 driven in. Good slider for a strike. 1-2 on Valencia, who singled in the second inning. He had been 0 for 12, which is headline news around here. If you remember what he did the last time the Twins were in town, he went 8 for 12 with a home run, 3 doubles, and 7 RBIs. But he was 0 for 5 last night.
Yeah, take that. It's a great series.
Broke his bat, and Uni will go the short way for the force on Kadire. Minnesota gets on the board, but the Royals still lead by 5.
How long you got me for?
Time for tonight's AT trivia question with David DeJesus joining us in the booth tonight. Who are the only 4 American League Central players to play more games for the same team than David has for the Royals since 2004? Only 4 players have been with an American League Central team longer than David DeJesus has been with the Royals since 2004. We have all come up with one. David's was?
Mine was Brandon Inge.
Okay.
And I'm throwing out there Mark Burley. I don't know, but it seems like we face him every year. All games played.
Gotcha. I threw out Paul Konerko.
Nice.
And Michael Kadire. Mike Aviles with another hit.
0-3.
And he will. And by sliding in safely, he is a home run shy of hitting for the cycle. So Mike Aviles is safe at third base, safe and secure, New York life.
This is what we like about Mike in September. Is he's really starting to drive the ball again, Ryan. The ball out over the plate. He doesn't try to pull it. He just goes right with it, and he definitely stays behind this ball, but really didn't sacrifice any bat speed, and they split the outfielders with that line drive. That's a good piece of hitting, and this is where Mike has really picked it up in his running speed. His running speed definitely looks better this year than it did in 08 when he first came up.
Now Blackburn is high and inside to Billy, who is struck out and flied to center field. The Royals with 6 runs, 7 hits off of Blackburn. And they've only had 1 full scoreless inning so far, and that was the 4th. And now Glenn Perkins warms up in the Minnesota bullpen. 2 balls and no strikes. So Paul Konerko, Michael Kadire, Brandon Inge,
Well, Joel yelled over Grady Sizemore, but I'm not sure if that's the right
All
point.
right.
Yeah, he's been injured a couple of years. Indians. Chew? No, I don't think so.
Blocked by Morales. 3 balls, no strikes. It's a good one.
Well, I guess would Granderson be a name?
And now, do they? We'll ask Kevin Schenk on the air here. Does he still have to be with that team? Well, he is. Okay, so yes, because I was thinking, Torrey Hunter. And now a balk is called on Blackburn, and the Royals get an easy run. So nothing is going right for Nick Blackburn and the Twins, and the Royals lead 7-1.
Oh, got him.
That's enough.
That was it. I think that when you have players, you going down to your last week of games, you trying to get set for the playoffs, and you sometimes your offense will leave you and you won't score any runs, but your pitching really doesn't go as far south as the Twins pitching has gone right now. And I think going to that series with the Blue Jays, going into the playoff, that's going to be a big series for them. I think the pitching definitely has to perk up before, say, starting tomorrow and going through that series, because like you say, the Blue Jays are definitely a power team, and if you don't pitch well against them, this could be a lingering effect to the Twins going into the playoffs.
All right. Any last minute selections?
Maybe Justin Morneau. Who knows? Just going to throw it out there.
There you go.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Good guess.
Man, you talk about 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th inning.
I'm just going to throw it out there, and yes. Wow.
That's why you clutch.
Nice work. It's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah.
There's only 4 guys in this division that have been with their team longer than you've been with the Royals.
That's really, crazy to think of, but, been here for a while. It seems like I've been here for a while, and hope to stay around for a while.
Homegrown.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not the only one that's hoping for that.
Yeah.
3-0 on Keela, who has 2 home runs tonight, a 3-run home run in the first and a solo home run in the third. And now the Royals have scored in 4 of 5 innings tonight. 3-1. 3 runs in the first, 2 in the second, 1 in the third, and 1 more here in the 5th. And this time Keela goes down to first with a walk. Speaking of trivia, let's send it over to Joel.
Well, this Friday, guys, is our last real Royals trivia of the year. Great prizes. Want everybody to come out to Rivals early to register, and we'll take a few contestants. And you never know what we're going to ask, but I'll throw one at the 3 of you guys tonight. Since we got David in the booth, we'll continue some of that DeJesus type of trivia. What pitcher does David DeJesus have the most hits against in his career? CC Sabathia, Irvin Santana, Paul Byrd, or Nick Blackburn? What do you guys think?
Well, let's ask David.
This is a trick question.
Doesn't have to be.
I wouldn't say CC. I know I've gotten my hits off him, but I don't know about that. But I'd have to go with Blackburn. I feel like I've hit him in the last few years pretty good.
Paul Byrd on that list, you say?
Yep.
That's another one.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Byrd.
Blackburn, by the way, since we have the notes in front of us, that's 11 base hits for David against him.
Right, and in case we have a double play here to end the inning, then you got to say goodbye to David. I don't think that's going to happen, but I'll just say that...
Is this another one of those all-of-the-above questions?
No, it's not. There's
okay.
a clear winner, and David has the most hits in his career against CC Sabathia.
Wow.
16. What? Now, also the most strikeouts in your career. It's kind of like how Split leads in every most wins and most losses. So you got the most hits. And number 2 was Mike Maroth, 15. And number 3 was your former teammate, short-time teammate, Sidney Ponson, at 14.
I remember him. You know,
We all remember Sid.
I had and my extra base hits I think off of him were pretty good. I know I've hit a home run off him a few times. So
it's just, I remember him. Yeah. Oh, I remember him.
Yeah, those are good times.
Josh Fields drives it to right field. That's his first hit. And the Royals just keep pouring it on. 2 on with 1 out, and Alex Gordon coming up. And Ron Gardenhire is out. He was not happy with the way that his team pitched last night, and now they've given up 7 runs in less than 5 innings. So a Chevy call to the bullpen, and it's left-hander Glenn Perkins into the game. Before the 5th inning is over, the Royals lead 7-1, and we've been very thrilled to have David DeJesus in the booth tonight to spend some time with us. He's getting ready to go back down onto the field. He needs to be in the dugout by the 6th inning.
Yeah,
explain that to us, but really
won
appreciate
yesterday.
You. Yeah, so you got to do it again. We really appreciate you coming up here and spending several innings with us and getting a chance to talk to you from this side of the white lines. And of course, we'd much rather see you out there in the field, as a lot of the fans would. By the looks of tonight's You Call It, presented by Sprint, 62%.
Wow.
I think that David's consecutive errorless streak is most impressive compared to Billy Butler's hit streak and Joaquim Soria's save streak. As Alex Gordon takes outside, 1 ball, no strikes.
That takes into consideration sun, rain, snow, cold weather, hot weather, and to be able to go through all that and still hold that record, that's pretty awesome.
Thanks. Hopefully you can add on to it. I just want to be a reliable guy for the pitchers, that they can know if that gets hits out there, I'm going to give my best to make the play on it.
We've seen Alex make a diving play in left field tonight at the plate. He is flied out and struck out, and takes a strike from Glenn Perkins. 2 balls and 1 strike.
That's not a bad way to be remembered, though. That was when they asked me how I wanted to be remembered by my teammates. I said the same thing: reliable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what every manager wants from their players, right? To know what to expect with every player, to have a good idea of what this guy is going to give you every year.
Yeah, and I know, Frank, you talk about it all the time. It's not about making the flashy play. It's about making the routine play over and over and over, and then the flashy play will come just by you going out there and doing it.
Well, that's true, and I think that when we talk about reliable, we're talking about being on time, being ready to play, and then doing everything you can within the game to help your team win.
Definitely.
So Perkins comes on, and he walks Alex Gordon. So that's 3 walks allowed by Twins pitchers tonight. That's a big number for them. Ron Gardenhire getting the infield ready for a ground ball as Unievsky Betancourt comes to the plate with Keela at third, Fields at second, and Gordon at first. Uni singled and scored in the second inning and flied out in the third.
Have you guys made any plays up here off the ball?
I think we had one baseball up here last year,
Okay.
but none this season.
Nothing this year.
Nobody seems to foul them straight back.
Yeah.
They always seem to go off that way, and off to the first base side. And
Nothing wrong with
the
that.
Twins radio booth there.
John Gordon on the right, who's going to give away a souvenir next to a very good outfielder in Twins history, Dan Gladden, who won a World Series in 1987 and 1991. In fact, he scored the winning run in Game 7 in the 10th inning on Gene Larkin's base hit to center field. So the Grand Slam man is at the plate with the count 1 ball, 1 strike. Uni has tied the team record with 3 already this year. Danny Tartabull was the first Royal to hit 3 Grand Slams in one season. That was back in '88. He got tied up. Valencia will play it to second base. That's the only out the Twins will get. And Uni drives in a run as Keela comes down from third. And it is 8-1. So Uni regains the team lead with his 78th RBI.
They got in on him. He jammed him pretty bad right here. So this is a one-out play all the way. And Alex did a good job hustling down to second and making sure that throw didn't go to first base.
How about the year he's had, David, with the home runs and the RBIs?
Yeah, Uni's been great this year. Got off to a little slow start, but it was kind of at one part in the season where we relied on him. He was like Mr. Clutch. Anytime we needed a big hit, it seemed like he was coming up to bat. And he's the type of guy that's gonna be aggressive on the right from the first pitch. And he was able to square the ball up a lot of the time when that streak was going on. So he had a great year for us.
No balls and 2 strikes now on Lucas May. All the criticism that arrived with Uni when he came to the Royals last year, and he worked hard during the offseason, put together by far a career season offensively. May strikes out. The Royals add a couple of runs. David, we'll let you get down to the dugout. Thanks so much for joining us.
All right, thanks, guys. I'll listen to you down there.
Okay. Thanks, David. Thank you again.
All right. Yeah.
Going for back-to-back wins as a starter since joining the Royals. Well, this Saturday, the first 20,000 fans will receive a Royals Sluggy blanket, courtesy of Fox Sports Kansas City. The Royals take on Tampa Bay at 6:10. It's also Fan Appreciation Night, and your chance to win jerseys off the backs of Royals players and coaches. and that will benefit the Ronald McDonald House. So that's Saturday. And for tickets, go to Royals.com or call 1-800-6-ROYALS. And we are into blanket season. 71 degrees at first pitch, but dropping down into the 50s tonight. 0-2 on Jose Morales, who is catching tonight, and 0 for 2. A couple of ground outs. And Minnesota still without Joe Mauer. The last time he was in the starting lineup was September the 19th. Recently had a cortisone injection in his left knee, so he will not play in this series. At least that's not the plan. 3 pitches, and O'Sullivan picks up his first strikeout. Tonight's copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Kansas City Royals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Kansas City Royals Baseball Corporation. Ryan Lefebvre with Frank White, Joel Goldberg, producer Kevin Schenk, director Steve Kurtenbach, associate producers Al Broughton and Sam Abramson, and the producer of Royals Live is T.J. McGinnis. 1 ball, 1 strike on Matt Tolbert, who is 1 out of 2. Changeup that stayed up. Tolbert couldn't resist. And he's down 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Well, the changeup seems to be the signature pitch for Sean O'Sullivan. It's sort of his go-to pitch when he gets in trouble, but he doesn't have a bad slider and curveball, and maybe just incorporating a better mix of all those pitches will really help him out a lot too.
Popped up a fastball. 3 Royals are chasing. It's Dyson coming up from center field for the second out. It has not been an easy inning for Sean O'Sullivan. He's only given up 1 run on 5 hits, but he is up over 100 pitches. He has not had a 1-2-3 inning yet. Nick Punto has walked and lined to second base, and the slider is high for ball 1. AT KCA played at shortstop last night. Punto tonight. J.J. Hardy is not with the Twins. He's back in Minnesota working on a sore knee and trying to get ready for the postseason. Busted bat, and an easy play for Betancourt. So Sean O'Sullivan gets that first 1-2-3 inning. He's only given up 1 run in 6 tonight. And Glenn Perkins, who got the final 2 outs of the 5th, stays on to face Jay Miller, Gerard Dyson, and Mike Aviles in the 6th. Miller is nothing out of 2. He lost an extra base hit in the 2nd inning on a very good play in right field by Jason Kubel. And he struck out in the 4th. Down and in, 2 balls, 1 strike. Royals have scored in 4 of 5 innings. Nick Blackburn had a 1-2-3 4th inning with a couple of strikeouts after the Royals scored 6 in the first 3, but then was knocked out in the 5th inning as the Royals added 2 more. Kila Kaihue has scored 3 times. He has 2 home runs and 4 RBIs. Perkins strikes out his 2nd, and there's 1 out in the 6th inning. Well, if you're looking for a unique venue, step up to the plate and make Kauffman Stadium the setting for an unforgettable night of holiday cheer with 5 beautifully renovated venues to choose from and accommodations for groups of 30 to 300. If you'd like more information, call 816-504-4016. 816-504-4016. Dyson on 1 hop back to Perkins, and Gerard is out. He is 0 for 3, but he's been on base twice with 2 runs scored and 2 more stolen bases. So Glenn Perkins picking up for Nick Blackburn, and as Frank knows very well, Perkins is from the world-renowned academic and athletic institution, the University of Minnesota. But you knew that.
Well, I only know because you always pointed out that's your school. Had an opportunity to go there with you and do a little bowling at one point. It was pretty awesome. Very, very beautiful campus.
2 strikes on Mike Aviles, who is a home run shy of hitting for the cycle. A single and a run scored in the 1st, a double with an RBI in the 2nd, and a triple and a run scored in the 5th. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Aviles is 2 out of 6 in his career against Perkins. Popped up into shallow left center field, and Punto backs out. And Perkins has a 1-2-3 bottom of the 6th inning. Take a look at tonight's Panera Pennant Race update. The Yankees and Tampa Bay win, so both of those teams have clinched spots in the playoffs. They have not decided who is going to win the East yet. Atlanta beats Florida So the Braves lead the wild card by 1 game, and Cincinnati clinches the National League Central Division as Jay Bruce hits a walk-off home run to beat the Houston Astros 3-2. So after 9 consecutive losing seasons, the Cincinnati Reds are going to the playoffs. That means at the moment, and it's not looking good for the Twins, down by 7 runs. Here's what's going on in the National League West. Colorado trails. San Diego just getting underway at Chicago, and San Francisco later tonight against Arizona. So Minnesota at the moment is a full game back of New York, and now a game and a half behind Tampa Bay for the race for the best record in the American League. So home field advantage throughout the playoffs at stake there. The Twins only need to win 1 more game to clinch home field advantage in the first round of the playoffs. And after tonight, they have 5 more games to do that. Denard Span walks to lead off the 7th inning. So Blake Wood warming up behind him. And that is the 3rd time tonight that Sean O'Sullivan has opened the inning with a walk. In fact, the Twins have had the leadoff man on in 5 of 7 innings. Cleveland had the leadoff man on in 5 of 7 innings against Sean O'Sullivan on Thursday. But in only 1 of those innings did that turn into a run-scoring inning. He was able to pitch pretty well after the leadoff man was put on. Royals turned 2 double plays behind him on Thursday, and they've turned 1 behind him tonight.
Well, you almost have to think this would be Sean O'Sullivan's last hitter. Ned Yost got that front foot on the top and left foot on the top step of the dugout. That's a good move by Lucas May to go out and just try to give him a breather and try to sell him down. This is 111th, 112th pitch come up. So it's a little bit longer than he's used to being out there.
And it's inside, 2 balls and no strikes. Only twice all season has Sean O'Sullivan walked 5 in a game, and both times it's against the Twins. Also walked 5 back on September the 6th. But in that game, he only went 4 2/3 innings. And Minnesota scored 5. They have won so far tonight. And now, after a leadoff walk, it's 3-0 on Orlando Hudson. And a 4-pitch walk. And now Ned Yost is going to go beyond the top step. So for a second straight start, Sean O'Sullivan has 6 very good innings but can't get through the 7th. And for the second straight start, he will depart with 2 men left on base. Nevertheless, a good performance from him, and a Chevy call to the bullpen brings in Blake Wood. leaves with a big lead. The Royals lead by 7. And after a couple of walks to begin the 7th inning, his 5th and 6th walks of the game, Blake Wood comes on with Delman Young coming to the plate. And this will be game number 50 for Blake Wood. So Denard Span and Orlando Hudson on. And Delman Young to the plate, 1 for 3 with a double. Missed high with a slider, ball 1.
This is a situation here, Ryan, first and second, nobody out. You're a single ball guy. You're trying to get a ground ball, and this is where Blake Wood has to really work hard to get the ball down and get the ball on the ground.
Delman Young grounded into a double play his last time up. And he lifts this one to right field. Jay Miller makes the catch. A bluff tag by Denard Span, but he goes back to second base. 1 away.
Let's see, Taco Bell through Fox Tracks. This is a fastball in the inner half. This is a ball that Delman Young usually turns on right there. Blake Wood beat him on the inside and got him a soft fly ball to right field.
And now it's Jason Kubel, who is 0 for 2 with a walk. Over the outside for strike 1. Broken bat and a bloop into shallow left. Alex got a good break, and there are 2 down. So the ground ball pitcher comes in and gets 2 fly balls, but no advance by the runners.
A real good pitch too. Kubel breaks his bat on this fastball running away, and Alex did a great job getting a good jump on it. Catches this ball easily.
And now it's Michael Kadire, who has driven in the only Minnesota run. A 2-out single in the 5th inning, and he has 2 hits tonight. And Blake Wood misses high and inside with ball 1. Sean O'Sullivan is responsible for Span at second base, Hudson at first. Mentioned earlier that in his last start at Cleveland, he pitched 6 shutout innings and then allowed 2 to reach in the bottom of the 7th, and those runs came around to score. So charge to him. He gave up 2 runs, 4 hits in 6 innings. Tonight, 1 run, 5 hits in 6+ innings. At least to this point, Blake Wood will try and keep it right there. It's 2-1 on Kadire.
Blake Wood has a real good run on this fastball, just on the inside corner and really driving it, but a little bit up high, a little higher than he's normally used to pitching. And the arm slot seems like it's dropping him down a little bit more, but just not able to get on top of that ball and get it down in the zone and get that sink that he really looks for when he pitches.
Fastball across the knee struck him out. So Blake Wood takes care of the 2 runners on base, and the Royals lead by 7. He leaves Sean O'Sullivan's 2 inherited runners on base and gets through the 7th inning. And the Royals lead by 7 to the bottom half with Billy Butler, Keila Kaihue, and Josh Fields coming up against Glenn Perkins. And a strike on Billy, who is 0 for 3. The Royals have scored in 4 innings. They have been scoreless in only 2 innings. All 8 runs charged to Nick Blackburn, who went 4 1/3 innings. And Blackburn had a bad time against the Royals this year. He had no decisions in his first 2 starts, but his ERA was over 9, and that goes way up tonight after the 8 runs in 4 1/3. Inside to Billy, 2 balls and 1 strike. Billy just one of 2 Royals tonight that hasn't been on base at least once. And he chops it right to Punto at short. And Billy is 0 for 4. And up comes Keila Kaihue. And he is responsible for tonight's Chevy play of the game.
In a big way, too, Ryan. You know, back-to-back home runs. This is a 3-run homer being his first home run. And they come back a second time. And it's a line drive right over the State Farm sign there in the right field. That ball was hit hard.
Now facing the lefty Perkins. And he takes a fastball for a strike. Keila has also walked. And he came around to score in the 5th inning. So 2 home runs, a walk, 3 runs scored, and 4 RBIs. And out in front of a Perkins changeup, and it's 0-2. So his first major league 2 home run game. And the 2 home runs were the first 2 times he had ever faced Nick Blackburn. Perkins gets him to chase again down and away. It's still 0-2.
Well, he's not doing a good job staying back. I don't know if he's not picking the ball up, but he's way out front and sort of waving at those pitches down and away when normally he'd stay back and take those pitches.
Back with a fastball at 95, and it's fouled away. This is 2 pitches ago.
Well, you can see just how front he is on this. These pitches are down well out of the strike zone. You see when you extend so far, that top hand takes over, and you can't hold on to the bat. They did him a favor by throwing him a fastball and gave him a chance to hit the ball.
Stroke to right field again. Back goes Kubel at the fence. It didn't go over the fence, but it's extra bases again for Keila, and he wants 3. And he's in with a triple. So Keila has his first Major League 2 home run game, and now he has his first Major League triple.
Well, Perkins made a mistake here, left a breaking ball on the inner half down, and Keila did a good job extending on it, and it's over Kubel's head off the wall, and Keela's showing his speed. He goes into third base with a triple.
And he is safe at third base, safe and secure. New York Life. What a night. A strike on Josh Fields. He's 1 out of 3 with a 5th inning single.
That's right there, Ryan, was just poor execution on Perkins' part there. He knew what he wanted to do with that pitch, and he left it on the inner half down, and Keila was able to hurt him right there.
Stroked it deep left field. Josh Fields. And with the Royals looking for insurance, he hits it off the State Farm sign. Royals have a 3-home run game, and they lead by 9.
This is just a power swing right here. We saw Fields go straight away center field last night. Right here he goes on a fastball on inner half. And he just dropped the head on this pitch. He knew right away this was gone.
A strike now on Alex Gordon. The Royals have had quite a power surge over the past 2 weeks.
Well, Ned Yost made the statement. He said, we can single you to death, but he wants to start seeing some doubles and guys really driving the ball. And you see what Josh Fields just got through this ball very well. And you got through it, down through it, finished high, and the ball leaped off his bat out of the ballpark. But I know that Ned Yost has got to be the happiest guy in the ballpark right now. And you just hope that that they finish the season like this and bring it into spring training.
Grounded right to Matt Tolbert. That is out number 2. So Alex is 0 for 3. So Josh Fields now has homered in back-to-back games. A 2-run home run last night. That ended up being the game-winning hit, even though it was in the bottom of the 4th inning. All the scoring was done last night after the bottom of the 4th. And now a 2-run home run in the 7th inning tonight to put the Royals in front by 9. So the Royals trying to win the first 2 games of this series. The Royals have not won a series against Minnesota this year. In fact, it's been the Twins all year winning the first 2 games. The Royals have gone into the final game of the series in the first 5 this year, trying to avoid being swept. And now turning it around on the Twins. And the Royals have scored 20 runs in the first 2 games. Still 0-2 on Uni. So players trying to make a lasting impression into the fall and winter months. And with the Royals needing some pop, Keila Kaihue and Josh Fields have hit 2 home runs in the last 2 games. Both of Keila's are tonight. One and 2. Uni had been 0 for 10 and then singled in the 2nd inning and came around to score. He is 1 for 3 with an RBI. That's 78 this year, and that leads the Royals. Down on strikes here. That's the end of the inning. The Royals hitting with power all night. And in this inning, Keila Kaihue with his first major league triple, and Josh Fields with his 3rd home run of the year, all against Minnesota. as the Royals have scored 20 runs in the first two games. A much closer game last night. Royals winning 10-8, but now ahead by 9 thanks to Josh Fields' 2-run home run in the 7th inning. Royals have 3 home runs tonight. Kila Kaihue has 2, and Kila has scored 4 times and driven in 4. Sean O'Sullivan going for his 4th win of the year. Walked the first 2 hitters in the 7th inning and was removed. And Blake Wood came on and got 3 straight outs. And now throws strike 1 to Danny Valencia. Last time Minnesota was here, Valencia was 8 out of 12 with 7 RBIs. In this series, he is 1 out of 8 with a single. Down in the count, no balls and 2 strikes. So Sean O'Sullivan gives up 1 run, 5 hits in 6 innings. Outside, 1-2.
I think this last week is a good test for the Royals, Ryan. They're not playing teams out of the race. They're playing the Twins, and they're playing Tampa Bay right behind the Twins. So this is a good way to end the season against some top-notch teams, and you get a better feel for your players when you're trying to evaluate at this time of the year.
Second strikeout for Blake Wood.
Well, Quick Trip shows us in Fox Tracks where this pitch is from Blake Wood, and I mean this is this pitch you don't see from him very often. I tell you, normally you see in a power sinker, power fastball. Now you got a slider.
And Valencia took a swing like he wasn't expecting that pitch. And now Jose Morales, who is 0 for 3. Looks like the Royals will not see Joe Mauer in this series. Mauer is hitting .516 against the Royals this year, and that includes 2 separate 5-hit games. But bothered by a sore left knee. He has had a cortisone shot in that knee recently, so the word right now is that he will not play, not even as the designated hitter. So Morales, who was drafted the same year that Mauer was by the Twins. Mauer was the first overall pick in 2001. Morales was the 3rd round pick. 2 balls, 1 strike.
Well, you can only hope that cortisone shot really helps that knee, because when you catch him back there, you're up and down a lot, and you can tell by going through the playoffs. So if he can't, squat behind the plate, he might be the DH, and if he's the DH, that means that Tomey might be out of the picture for a little bit. So you hope that he can get back there and catch, and you can keep Tomey's bat in the line.
And Jim Tomey is not expected to play in this series because of tightness in his lower back. So no Mauer, no Morneau, no Tomey. J.J. Hardy, the shortstop, is back in Minnesota working on his sore left knee. And Morales can't catch up to the fastball. So Blake Wood has retired all 5 he has faced, and he has struck out the last 3.
Well, Fox Track shows us where this pitch is, just right down the middle, just a power fastball at 97 miles an hour, just right by Morales, right in the strike zone. And Blake Wood's feeling pretty good right now.
So 2 outs to Matt Tolbert, who is 1 out of 3. Another Twins homegrown player, a 16th round pick out of the University of Mississippi. He is out of Woodville, Mississippi, population 2,000.
That's small.
1 ball, 2 strikes. The Twins aren't getting good swings at all against Blake Wood.
That ball's moving really well, and that was more of a defensive swing at this pitch than an aggressive swing. Look at the depth on this ball.
Not quite going to make the list with that swing, but if we had a waiting list for the list, it would be on there. Got him. So the Twins are all mixed up against Blake Wood tonight. He has struck out 4.
The game on Boulevard Royals Live. Paul Splittorff and I will break down another quality start for Sean O'Sullivan. We'll take a look at the playoff picture as some more clinches taking place tonight. Hear from Ned Yost, possibly Ron Gardenhire as well. He was not happy last night. Can't imagine he will be tonight either. That and much more coming up. Guys, I think it's safe to say we may be talking Tequila Ka'aihue on the field. You never know. Just a guess, guys.
That sounds good. With 2 home runs tonight and 4 runs scored. Minnesota has made spring training-like changes before the bottom of the 8th inning. Matt Tolbert has moved from second base to first. AT KCA is now at second base. Matt Capps is going to get some work in the bottom of the 8th inning with his team down by 9. Ben Revere is now in center field, and Jason Repko is in left. So Morales behind the plate, Kubel in right, Punto at short, and Valencia at third, the only remaining players from the starting lineup. Lucas May singled in the second inning, 1 for 3 tonight, after getting 2 hits and 3 RBIs last night. Royals got 8 runs against Nick Blackburn in 4 1/3 innings, and 2 runs against Glenn Perkins in 2 2/3 innings. Still 0-2. Twins have been without Joe Nathan all season. He blew out his elbow in spring training. And they went with John Roush for most of this year. But at the trading deadline, they picked up Matt Capps from the Washington Nationals for their top catching prospect, Wilson Ramos. Capps is also signed through next year, just in case Nathan isn't ready. So Lucas May is 1 for 4 with the strikeout, And one down in the bottom of the 8th inning, and let's go to Joel Goldberg.
Well, you know, we don't see the Royals put up back-to-back 10-run games too often, at least not against Minnesota. So I was looking back in history, back-to-back days with 10-plus run games against Minnesota, and it's only the second time that it has ever happened on back-to-back days, and Frank White was very much involved that first time. June 17th and June 18th of 1985, Frank going 3 for 4 in Game 1. Next day, 3 for 4 as well.
Wow.
Brett Saberhagen beating Frank Viola in the first game. Mark Gubazov beating Mike Smithson in the second game. That first game against Viola, Steve Balboni a couple of home runs. So this is the 54th game, guys, in history that the Royals have had 10-plus runs against Minnesota, but only the second time it has come in back-to-back days.
Wow, Frank, you were 6 for 8.
Thank you, Joel.
Man,
I appreciate that.
I didn't do it. I just looked it up.
I didn't know it either, so thanks for looking it up.
Do you remember that?
Did you play better in the first game or the second game?
About 50-50.
You know, Willie went 4 for 5 on June 17th, but then, you know, he used up his hits. He only had 1 the next day. But there's Frank, 6 for 10. Nice, even 3 for 4, 3 for 4.
Yeah, steady.
Wow. Steady Frank. 10-3 and 10-1.
We're at just a little old reliable me.
Now Jay Miller is down on strikes, so he is 0 for 4, and he has struck out 3 times. 2 down in the bottom of the 8th.
Well, if Jay Miller's going to get in trouble, Ryan, that's where he's going to get in trouble. A fastball up out over the plate and anything to the outer half. So Matt Capps powered this fastball right by him.
Gerard Dyson is 0 for 3, but he has reached with a walk and a fielder's choice. And he has scored twice. He has 2 stolen bases, and he's driven in a run. So no hits, but a productive night. And strike 1 from Capps. Greg Holland getting ready for the top of the 9th inning. One ball, 1 strike. Since joining the Twins, Matt Capps has 15 saves. He had 11 with Washington, so he becomes the 3rd pitcher in Major League history with 10 saves in both leagues in the same year. He joins Bob Wickman, who did it twice in 2000 and 2006, and Octavio Dotel in 2004. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Dyson.
Yeah, the opponent Wickman was very tough. I mean, his ball moved all over the place.
I remember about Bob Wickman is when he was a kid, I think he had an accident where he lost the tip of his index finger on his pitching hand. And because of the grip, missing the tip of his finger gave him tremendous movement.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about a sinker, a serious sinker. Nothing was straight out of his hand. And remember those days were leaving. He was pretty tough.
Jammed, and Dyson fouls it away. Still 1-2. Matt Capps originally out of the Pirates organization, and then traded to Washington, traded to Minnesota. Two balls, 2 strikes. Ron Gardenhire was not happy at all after last night's loss to the Royals. We heard his comments before the game tonight, and I don't think tonight's game is making him feel any better. He used the word edge, and feeling like his team maybe has lost their edge temporarily. It's nice on one hand to clinch early. You can get a lot of things in order. You can rest some guys for the postseason, but then you run the risk of losing your edge.
And you ran out of meetings, too. I mean, the meeting last night after the game, that's probably the only one he can have right now that's going to make any sense to the players. You know, he gave them a wake-up call, and it's up to the players now to turn it up a notch. And the next meeting he should have is to be going over to how they're going to pitch the team in the playoffs.
And the Royals with 10 runs, 10 hits. Keela with his first Major League 2 home run game. And Greg Holland gets the top of the 9th inning. And the 9, 1, and 2 hitters. Sean O'Sullivan went the first 6. Gave up 1 run, 5 hits. Able to get around a season-high 6 walks. And Blake Wood with 2 very impressive innings out of the bullpen. Facing 6, retiring all 6, and striking out the last 4. So Keela saying hello to Matt. Has 2 home runs, 4 runs scored, and 4 RBIs tonight.
Well, maybe Joel can find out for us in his post-game interview what Matt stands for.
Punto strikes out. Well, if he keeps swinging like this, he might have Matt embroidered on his hat. The Royals bullpen has struck out the last 5. It could be Matt McClain, who is part of our Fox Sports Kansas City crew. No, I don't think so. And this is Ben Revere, who took over for Denard Span in the bottom of the 8th inning in center field. A former first-round pick for the Twins. We saw him when the Royals were in Minnesota earlier this month. Denard Span finishes 0 for 2 with 2 walks and a run scored. Two balls and 1 strike. Ben Revere was the first-round pick for the Twins in 2007. They drafted him out of high school. Otherwise, he was on his way to the University of Georgia. Line foul off the left field line and out of play. Told you the story when we were in Minnesota last month. He grew up a Kirby Puckett fan. And when he was in high school, he played in a high school tournament in Minnesota. And during the trip, his team got a chance to go and watch the Twins at the Metrodome, and he decided that not only was he a Kirby Puckett fan, and this was long after Kirby's career was over, but that he was going to become a Minnesota Twins fan and hoped that he would play in the Dome someday. Well, that didn't quite happen as the Twins moved out of there after last year, but drafted by the Twins and made his big league debut this year. And now the Royals bullpen has struck out 6 in a row. 2 down in the 9th inning.
That's a tough pitch to hit right here, Ryan. This is a slider right down underneath the swing to the back leg. Revere swung well over this pitch. Outstanding pitch by Holland. You get a chance to see some of the good stuff that he's got. He's got an excellent curveball and an excellent fastball. It's just a matter of how well he commands when he comes in the ball game. You know, coming into the game, opponent's batting average against is like 324. So just the stuff is there, just the command and getting ahead of hitters. That's usually what gets you hit, is when you get behind hitters and lead the ball up.
Trevor Plouffe, another first-round pick of the Twins. That was back in 2004. And he's down no balls, 2 strikes.
Yeah, that's a kind of a new pitch for Holland right there. It almost looked like a cutter at 89. It's almost like when in doubt, every pitcher has a cutter these days, and a lot of times that cutter's a command hit.
Royals bullpen strikes out the last 7. Well, Blake Wood with 4 in a row to finish his outing. And now Greg Holland strikes out the side in the top of the 9th. So a big night on offense as the Royals come up with 10 runs on 10 hits. They hit 3 home runs. Keila Kaihue hits 2 of those. Josh Fields adds a 2-run home run. He had a 2-run home run last night. And for the first time this year, the Royals will win a series against the Minnesota Twins. When was the last time the Royals won a series here at Kauffman Stadium, you ask? You have to go all the way back to August of 2007. The Twins had won 9 straight series here at Kauffman Stadium, but not this time, as the Royals have scored 20 runs in the first 2 games. And tonight they blow out Minnesota, winning by 9. And the Twins, for the first time this year, have lost 5 in a row. Let's go down to the field. And here's Joel Goldberg.
All right, thank you very much, as we are joined by Keila Kaihue, one of the best nights so far of your career. 2 home runs in your first 2 at-bats. Take us through those 2 against Blackburn.
The first one, just trying to hit a fly ball, get it to the outfield, get the guy in from third, and was fortunate enough to get it out. All
right, and then the second one, second homer of the game. Tell us about that.
The second one, I mean, he got ahead of me with a fastball right there, and you know, just another good swing. I mean, I wasn't trying to do too much, but the ball got out of here.
All right, and then you end up with the triple later on. At that point, as it leaves the bat, are you thinking you have a 3 home run night?
No, I didn't even think it had a chance. I was just happy it got over Kubo's head.
A triple, too. I mean, you get a chance to get your first major league triple and show a little bit of that speed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about speed, but, you know, I'd like to send my condolences out to the Hernan family, and they lost their son a couple days ago. And that was a big night for all of us.
So a chance to really do something for them. Finally, and guys don't get a chance to do this too often, but I hear on a big NASCAR week here in the Kansas City area, you're going to have a NASCAR experience tomorrow. Kid from Hawaii.
Yeah, they had a NASCAR pull the last couple of weeks, and, you know, it's just something we've been talking about, and tomorrow I'm going to get to do it.
All right, great job tonight, Keila.
Thank you.
All right, that is Keila Kaihue, a 3-for-3 night, first major league triple, 2 home runs, as well as the Royals win it here at Kauffman Stadium. Ryan?
All right, thank you, Joel. So the Royals have a chance to go for a sweep, and tomorrow it's Luke Hochaber against Scott Baker. Big night for the Royals, 10 runs, 10 hits, and we'll have more from Kauffman Stadium right after this.